This is Callout, where one high school student refuses to stay silent. In a world where the system claims to listen but rarely hears, one voice rises to confront the cracks, the bias, and the truth. From crowded hallways to closed-door decisions, this is the raw, unfiltered journey of calling out what is broken and imagining what could be built in its place. Welcome to Call Out. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I would like to pose a question to you. What would your future look like if your education was limited, not only by your potential, but by your zip code? In New Britain, that is the unfortunate reality for too many students. Due to funding gaps in New Britain that create unfair barriers to student access, we as students, teachers, and families need to start advocating for equitable access to education so that every student, regardless of where they live, have a real chance to thrive. Without advocacy, the result could be catastrophic. Let that sink in. Imagine having dreams and goals, but constantly being told that your aspirations are too big for the zip code you reside in because of underfunded schools and limited resources. That's not just disheartening, that's unjust. Now, a question may be, what efforts are already taking place? Well, despite the fact that this funding disparity is widely known and well documented, and despite the fact that many organizations are advocating for change, the impact that does prevail is softened by the lack of both coordination and consistent follow through from the various organizations that have identified and called out this issue. For example, the Black Ministerial Alliance has called several community leaders together to meet with Superintendent Gasper to discuss school funding disparities. Many of the solutions presented, however, were met with roadblocks. According to Reverend Gervais Barker of Right Now Ministries, groups such as OIC New Britain, Spotswood Church, and the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and many more, have all taken different approaches to addressing these issues. How will effect take place if there is no unified consensus in advocating for this change? The answer, it doesn't. Everyone can push for the same goal, and they do, but they're not always pushing in the same direction. Until there is a common voice and a mutual plan, the momentum needed to spark true change will stay stalled. We need alignment, not just passion. Let's consider the system itself. Students in New Britain are being underserved by an educational system that was never designed with their specific needs in mind. The marginalized students of New Britain are being held back due to lack of adequate resources, teacher representation, and supportive policies. New Britain is ranked near the bottom when it comes to funding and educational outcomes, says Reverend Gervais Barker. Although some leaders argue that simply increasing the budget isn't the answer, schools remain overcrowded and understaffed. And what does that look like in real life? It looks like 30 kids being packed into a classroom fit for 20. Like a student who desperately needs support yet can't receive it exactly when they need it because there aren't enough hands to help. What we need are more teacher aides, more recruitment of teachers of color, and policies that allow committed community members to step in and support students. End quote. Not to mention the critical role that school counselors play. They must work hard to meet students' academic, emotional, and career needs. Perez. But how do they do that with a large caseload and a limited amount of time? They are being stretched too thin. Real change means properly investing in people, not just programs. Yes, programs are definitely important, but if there is no one available and ready to run those programs with not only care, but efficiency and productivity, they will fall flat. We need more than just a band-aid solution to fix the system. We can't wait for the system to fix itself. If we want to see real change, it must start within the community. Too many of us have become too comfortable with the status quo. Yes, community leaders have been going to the Board of Education meetings and Common Council sessions, but progress towards equitable education will only start when students and families start attending those meetings as well to demand change. Parker. The issue is community complacency, and it's understandable. Life gets busy. It's hard to find time to be productive after a long day. But if we don't take the time to speak out now, we lose years upon years of what could have been a solution in action. Instead, we gain silence being the loudest thing in the room. Students and educators, especially, have a responsibility to get involved, says Alderwoman Scott. It's important to not only go to the meetings, but build a relationship with the elected leaders who advocate for you and stay informed about public policy decisions. But the education standards are also something to advocate for. Literacy is always taught a certain way, but accepting and acknowledging the different types of literacy in education is another problem that needs to be addressed. What about the students who communicate best through art, or music, or movement? Only when society stops trying to force everyone into the same mold and calling it equality may we truly gain equity. If schools aren't built for your way of learning, how could it ever and truly include you? It's not just about school resources or lack of money. It's about systemic racism. It's about deep-rooted inequalities that exist in urban communities like New Britain. Fairness means confronting uncomfortable realities and the way the system is built against the very same students it intends to provide for is one of those realities. According to Reverend Barger, absenteeism is a big issue, but so is the fact that some students are never inspired in the first place. That is a failure of a system that often tries to blame the student instead. And when students don't feel seen, they stop showing up physically, mentally, and emotionally. And when the students give up, is when the system becomes doomed to collapse and fail because it no longer has willing participants in the classroom. In conclusion, we must speak up, show up, and push for a system that treats all students fairly. Some may think that change needed is optional, but in fact, it's urgent. It starts right here, right now, with all of us. Thank you.